I'm Tara, and recently I have felt compelled to start a video series that addresses questions that I have heard repeatedly in my work with children and families. I have worked with children and families since I was 14 and started volunteering in a daycare center. I went on to work with children throughout high school and college, and in college I went to Purdue University and received degrees in early childhood education and intervention with an endorsement in special ed and a degree in psychology. After college, I worked in a preschool classroom and I worked for Head Start, and since 2002 I have worked with my state's early intervention program, which is called First Steps here in Indiana, and I have worked with many children and families, and I have heard many questions, and I would like to start off with addressing some of the questions that I hear a lot, some of the situations that I've encountered repeatedly, because I know they're out there and a lot of you are dealing with it, and I am just very drawn to helping caregivers help these little people so that they're not so stressed and they're not so anxious and they're not so angry and unhappy, which we know if the children are angry and unhappy, chances are the parents are also frustrated, angry, and unhappy. So today the first question that I am going to address is, what do I do when my child is hitting their head on purpose? First, I think the most important thing to remember is most of my answers are going to be geared toward the 0 to 5 crowd, because that's who I have the most experience with. My children are past that age right now, but most of my experience is with the 0 to 5. So, most importantly, those 0 to 5-year-olds have several different reasons for hitting their head, but they all boil down to a lack of control, a lack of ability to cope with the feelings they are feeling. So the first thing you want to assess when your child is hitting their head is to answer the question, are they doing it out of frustration, or are they doing it to get your attention, or are they doing it to calm down because it feels good to them? Now, many of you might be thinking, how can hitting your head feel good? For some people it does. For some people, that repetitive movement is very calming. One thing to remember, any movement for a child or a person that is in a line, so walking, swinging, patting, banging your head, it's a straight line movement, it's going to be calming. Whereas movements where you spin around, running in a circle, twirling, spinning is going to wind you up, and it's really stimulating, and it's not going to be calming. So some very young children will repeatedly bump their head, maybe on their crib or a pillow or the floor, to relax themselves to get in a regulated state where they can go to sleep. So if your child is doing that, really not a concern. There's really not anything that you need to do about that. If you would like to help them figure out a different way to calm down and to get in a regulated state so they can sleep, that's great. We can talk about those types of things in another video. But they're not in danger. It's not a bad behavior. It's just what they need to do to calm down. The next one, is your child doing it out of frustration? Are they having a total meltdown, and while they're crying, they're banging their head back on the floor or on their forehead on the floor? That is very common. Most of the time, they're not even doing it that hard. It looks terrible when you're their parent or you're their caregiver, and here they are banging their head on the floor. They're not going to have enough force to do any damage. I've had countless doctors reassure parents, a child banging their head on the floor like this, they're not creating enough force to cause any sort of brain damage. It's not the same as being shaken or whiplash or a car accident. It's not that powerful of a movement. One thing I hear parents are told is to ignore it. Yes and no. Ignore the behavior, don't ignore the child. If your child is so upset that they are banging their head out of frustration, they need you. They do not need to be ignored. They need you more when they are in that moment than they do when they're being all sweet and playing nicely They need you so much at that moment. Depending on your child, you will tweak your response. Some children will let you pick them up and hold them and console them and help them calm down. Some children don't really want you to intervene. The best thing you can do is stay calm and be there for your child, whether it's sitting next to them, near them, patting their back, doing a shushing noise, singing a familiar song, or just being near them and taking deep breaths. These children don't have the coping skills that they need to calm down. Most 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-olds don't have the coping skills they need to stay calm when they are really, really frustrated. So helping your child calm down in the moment is what you need to do. For the future, we can help the child come up with a different way to regulate those feelings and to work out that frustration that maybe isn't as scary. I've had some parents slip a pillow under their child when they are banging their head on the floor, and that's fine too. If you feel that you need to do that, that's perfectly fine. Totally understand not wanting to just watch your child bang their head on the floor. The next circumstance, which I see but honestly not as often as the other two, is when a child is doing it purely to get a reaction from you. You can tell that they're doing it purely to get a reaction from you because they will stop and look at you while they are doing it, and they're really, really in control. They are not necessarily total meltdown mode, screaming, thrashing. They are probably screaming and crying, but just watching you as they do it and waiting for you to stop them and give them what they want. That's the kind that you really don't want to give into just giving them what they want to stop the behavior. That's not how we teach kids anything. When a child is super upset, they don't just need you to fix it. They need to learn how to deal with being upset. Some kids learn this really easily. Some kids really, really struggle with it. This is not a reflection on their parenting. This is not a reflection of you have taught them bad things. This is just a difference in how they are made and where their coping skills are. So what we can do for all of the children who are doing it out of anger and frustration or because they're trying to get something that they want, we have to empathize and teach them a better way. So one thing you can do when your child is super, super upset, they're not going to listen to you talk to them. Now you can use a calm voice and sing a song, but in the moment when they are super, super upset, this is not the time to teach something new. Once they are calm, or at least able to hear you, try using words like, I see you are so upset. I see you are mad. I see you are frustrated. Name the feeling that you think they might be feeling. And you can even say, I know you are so upset because you are screaming so loud. I know you are so mad because you're frustrated to the point that you're banging your head. Just describe what you see. One thing to keep in mind is you do not have to agree with their experience or agree with their behavior to empathize and respect it. We have to teach our children respect by treating them with respect. Treating a child with respect doesn't mean you give them everything they want. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is you give them what they need. And when they are this upset and this frustrated, they need empathy, compassion, and a calm parent. Period. Now, I know being a calm parent is not easy. It is definitely not something that comes naturally to most people. Before I had kids, I could be calm through the worst tantrums that other kids threw. But when my kids were upset, it was so much harder. You think you are a patient person until you have children. And then you realize you've got a long way to go. Now, I know there are some of you parents out there that can stay calm. I've met a few of you. I am in awe of your ability to stay calm. It's a learning process for me. It's a learning process for most people. I know it's a goal for thousands of you because I see the pages that you follow on Facebook and the groups that you're in, because I'm in there too. But anytime you can stay calm, it will only help the situation. Now, there are times when you can't stay calm. If you can safely walk away and calm down, I totally recommend that you do that. You are not going to help your child if you are as frustrated as they are. Another thing that you can do to help your child is to use words to describe your feelings. When you are frustrated, when you are upset, say those things. I am very frustrated right now. I am so frustrated, I need to count to 10. Or I am so frustrated, I need to go to another room and calm down. Or I am so frustrated, I need to drink my coffee. Whatever it is that you need to do to take those few seconds to calm down, say it out loud. Be the example for your child, even when they're very young. Be that example. Use those emotion words. Kids really will pick up on those words. My youngest son, when he was 2, we were so big about talking about feelings. I remember him playing with his toys many, many times, getting frustrated and saying, "I'm so frustrated." And it was kind of hard not to laugh, but it was great because then I knew he was upset about something and I could maybe, help him figure out what we needed to do to fix it. Without having that vocabulary, he would just probably start screaming, and I would have this guessing game of, okay, is he hungry? Is he mad? What's going on? But just using those words and teaching him that vocabulary really, really helped him be able to let me know what was going on. Another thing to really, really keep in mind when your child is getting super frustrated like this, think about why. Is your child getting frustrated like this all the time over everything? If so, we will talk about that in another video. If your child just does it once in a while, maybe you're a little bit worried, but think about, okay, does this happen right before nap time? Does it happen when they're hungry? Does it happen when we've had a really crazy, hectic day? Does it happen when too many people have been in our house or we have been to the store? Think about those types of things, and you can maybe try to plan around those, or at least know that, hey, when my child is sleepy or hungry or after we've been out and about, they are going to be more irritable, and either you can set up the situation to where they're not struggling, they're not using a toy that they get frustrated with, that maybe they're only doing stuff that comes a little easier for them until they can have their needs met, like their hunger, their tiredness, and having that overstimulation, that time to just kind of calm down. So I hope this has been somewhat helpful. If you have other questions, other concerns, email me or comment and we will address those. Like I said, some of the things I brought up today, I wanted to do another video that addresses those things a little more specifically. So I hope you had a great day, and let me know what you want to hear about. Thanks. Bye.